let me bring up, and we might be changing topics here, but you did bring up your sales earlier, which I appreciate you alluding to that. I think it's the mind of a developer is much different than we do not have the access to that. There was a lot of content creators, myself involved. We make a lot of armchair dev comments. We don't have the information that I would like to have, but I appreciate you sharing that information. Now I look at someone brought up the chat, Demio making crap load of money in the first couple of days it was
Yeah.
out. And they made a comment. The games that seem to be making quite a bit of money, you brought up yours, Demio, extremely niche games. They are not mass appeal. If we're going to call golf mass appeal, I do not agree with that. If we're going to call D&D mass appeal, I do not agree with that. What's this secret sauce here? I mean, come on, we don't have that many developers on many streams. What is this that is causing people to buy into these games rather than others? Is there something that is drawing people to certain experiences over others?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like, we saw a massive uptick, one, because of the holiday and the Quest 2 just taking off. But I think more importantly for us, we saw kind of sustained sales after the holiday. And we tracked it back to friends telling friends about it, right? So I think I 100% agree. Golf is not a mass appeal thing, especially if you consider the fact that the VR demographic right now is very much like kind of hardcore gamer
Mm-hmm.
would be the best way to describe it. And hardcore gamers are typically not huge into sports or golf, especially golf. So anyway, all to say that all makes sense. I think the big difference is one, if you play our game, it is focused on golf as the core mechanic, but with the Top Golf edition that we added right before the holidays, and kind of with the 4-player stroke play within Pro Putt, uh, if you ask the majority of our players what they like about the game, it's the socializing aspect of it. It's a great way to socialize. And even in our Top Golf game, at this point we've had over 2 million cornhole bags thrown in our game in Top Golf. Over 2 million bags have been thrown,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
because we have cornhole in there, right? And we've got the fire pit, and we've seen like hundreds of thousands, if not millions by now, of marshmallows being roasted, right? And literally, tens of thousands of hours of YouTube being played. So it's much more than just golf. It's a way to go hang out with your friends in VR that feels a little bit more natural, a little bit more fun, at least for us. And I think Demio is kind of the same thing in terms of everybody that I've talked to that's played it, tells their friends about it. And if you've got a VR headset and you start to hear multiple friends talking about it, and it is more of a social experience, you're going to want to go check that out and experience that with your friends. Like, all of us that are into VR right now are sort of by definition early adopters. Therefore, we're more likely to go check something out that our friends are talking about.
Yes,
I
no,
think I think
absolutely agree with that one. I think I've said it numerous times. Patience is a virtue in this niche. I can't stress that enough. I I'm gonna play the boomer card here. I guess I'm getting older, but I am more than okay with waiting a decade for the experiences that we all dream of. Um, I'm okay with that. It's a ride, and that's something that I'm fine with. Do you have any analytics or anything for the average retention? Because something that I'm thinking, we claim that VR gaming is more immersive, and if it truly is, I'm not going to game hop to something that's super immersive. If something is immersive, I want to be inside it. I want to embody it. I want to become that character. Because of that, is the time value going to be even more valuable to someone where PC gaming, I may flip flop between 10 games at a time. That's a huge exaggeration, but I absolutely currently am flip flopping between a few different games. But when it comes to a VR game, I find myself playing one or two very religiously until I feel satisfied with that immersion. Is this something that developers like you are factoring in to find ways to hold people into the game? Because, of course, I think VR is more taxing physically, it is more demanding of hardware. people are going to focus on more than one, or focus in my mind on one game more than many. I don't know if this is something that's true or just an opinion of mine.
Yeah, no, it's something, that's one of our core metrics. I think that from my experience, and I did a lot of stuff outside of gaming, sort of between my first job out of college and where we are now, and did a lot of startup stuff. And analytics is like the key to any startup success that I've seen. And We decided to kind of boil down all of our data to like a couple what are called KPIs, which are like key performance indicators, which basically means like what are the most important metrics that we're looking at and how can we make that the smallest set so that we just focus all of our efforts on those. And one of them is weekly active users. We want to see that number grow because that's basically retention, along with new users, sort of get piled in there. And for us, the other one is reviews. We don't have a lot of data to prove it, but when you're looking at the apps on the store, the apps that have higher reviews in terms of score out of 5 and quantity of reviews are just generally going to get more attention. So those have kind of been our two main focuses. And the weekly active user one is really interesting because, yeah, to your point, I would love to see what the graph looks like for a game like Half-Life Alyx, where the game itself is amazing. I mean, it's mind-blowing, the level of detail and just the quality of it. And especially if you're into Half-Life, like they just did such a great job. But after, I don't know that many people that played it multiple times or go back to it now. It's because it's a single player game and like the mod community never really took off. So like once you're done with it, like you kind of experienced it. It would be like watching a movie again. Whereas a multiplayer game is different every time you play it. A sports game is often different every time you play it. So one thing that we're trying to work on is basically finding more hooks to get people to have a reason to keep playing every week. So within the coming months, we're going to be introducing a few new things, one of which will be kind of tournaments, events, sort of world ranking that accumulates over time versus just leaderboards. We have found great success with just the leaderboards and having weekly leaderboards and stuff like that. But we kind of want to give people a really good reason to play the game every week. We're, we're in a good position in terms of basing our game and a lot of our hooks off of a real sport that exists. Every single week there is a golf tournament, a PGA golf tournament, and it's broadcast on TV every single week. So, we don't need to invent the wheel. We can kind of just try to build a lot of things that follow a similar cadence to PGA, and a lot of golfers, kind of try to dedicate one day a week to go playing golf if they're really into it. So like one of the weekend days to go play with their friends. So our goal is to kind of do that and really give you a good reason to play every week, and then try to build in like some, in-game incentives like currency stuff, upgrades, stuff like that, to kind of give you more reasons to play every week. But yeah, I would say every developer I've talked to is pretty aware of their metrics, and we track every action that you take in game just so that we can create funnels and try to understand like what's the difference between a player that does become a weekly active user and one that doesn't.
Hit that subscribe button to stay on top of the daily clips, or catch the debates and fireside chats live on the main channel down in the video description. See you next time, Space Cowboys.